Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I just did a little homework on the Bucks and the Pacers. Try to do a little preview on that. Obviously, I'm not an expert on the Eastern Conference, so we're not going to talk too much about the East as it pertains to me knowing what I'm talking about. But I will give you just a loose understanding of what I think could happen in the series and predicting stuff like that. This time, unlike with the Orlando-Cleveland series, I actually had a look at the rosters. I glanced at the names, so hopefully I'll get a little better understanding than I did in that one because I was just ill-prepared there. But I gave you what I had. In this one, what you know about the Pacers right now in regards to the Bucks is that they've beaten the crap out of the Bucks all year long. 4 out of 5 times, of course, they saw themselves in the play-in tournament. And, of course, the Pacers won that game because, of course, the Lakers, my team, saw them in the championship game. So they just really had the Bucks number all year long. Giannis, no Giannis, didn't matter, man. They beat the crap out of this team every time. And it was heated. In one game, Giannis had done something special. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the Pacers coach took the game ball. And it was a big controversy there in regards to him not receiving it. I think he later did get the ball, but it was one of those things where after the game, the Pacers took the ball and Giannis wanted it, and it was a whole thing. And of course, it was some banter back and forth between Dame Lillard and Tyrese Halliburton, as to which Dame told Tyrese to be humble after beating on him. And then Tyrese came back around and beat him again. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a situation where this team saw each other like 3 times in a matter of like a week and a half or something like that. So it was really close-knit games. That the Pacers basically got the best of them. So now these teams just so happen to meet up in the first round, which I think is great for TV. Problem is, Giannis is expected to miss a couple of games of this series, maybe even the whole damn series, depending on how long it goes. With some type of injury that I'm not really sure exactly what it is. But just like last year against Miami, Giannis ain't expected to be available. That's becoming a thing, man. And I keep telling people, Giannis, amazing superstar, but he's not getting any younger. And this is the second year in a row where he's going into the first round against a team that can beat his team without him. And it's a good chance he goes to home in the first round in the same fashion. Very good chance. So I don't know how to feel about this if I were a Bucks fan, other than what you have is something that I think could catch the Pacers off guard in theory, and that's Dame Lillard being able to be himself. I can argue Dame is a much better player when Giannis doesn't play. It doesn't mean that the Bucks are a much better team when Giannis doesn't play, but it does mean that Dame could jump into his own comfort zone where he's the guy taking the majority of the shots, because that's what he's been his whole career in Portland. He can run certain sets that allow him to take shots, get in rhythm, stay in rhythm, and go for like 60 points, which is what may be necessary against the best offense in basketball over there in Pacerland. Now, I could argue the Pacers got some really good guys. I was going to say they got better offensively, but I think what you did was just kind of switch some things around. You move on from Buddy Hield, but you bring in Pascal Siakam and Doug McDermott. So Doug can do certain things that Buddy could do. And you just love the idea of bringing in another all-star Pascal. Now, Pascal, my Lakers could not do anything with a couple weeks ago. Even though they won the particular game that I'm thinking about, he went for like 17 points in the third quarter. The Bucks are a significantly worse defensive team than anyone would ever have imagined. Of course, replacing Dame Lillard replacing Jrue Holiday with Dame Lillard made them significantly worse defensively from a point of attack perspective, from a lot of different perspectives, to be honest with you. And I don't think, I don't think that they're in a position right now to where they can actually find themselves feeling good about themselves defensively against the best offense in the league. You have to wonder, are they going to be able to maneuver around what the Pacers are capable of doing? The Pacers dropped, 157 points or something like that in their previous matchup against Atlanta? I mean, I don't know that even Dame Lillard at his very best can elevate his team offensively enough to keep up with the Pacers scoring the ball, especially if Giannis is not going to be available. This is my concern with them. You know, the Pacers are they're healthy. You got Tyrese Halliburton, who's likely not going to turn the ball over very much. You got circumstances where if for any reason Tyrese is not his best, you got TJ McConnell coming off the bench doing similar stuff. Obviously, in playoff situations, you expect TJ to step his game up. Very recently, LeBron James said that's one of his favorite players in the league. I definitely have been on this record, on this channel, telling y'all all about TJ, even though I forget his name a lot of the time. Every time the Pacers come around, you need to consider TJ McConnell putting up elevated numbers on both sides of the floor and doing similar things that Jose Alvarado does in New Orleans, stealing the ball in the inbounds, catching you off guard, doing little sneaky stuff that makes the game ugly for you. So this team, man, Ben Shepherd's on this bench. I really like that rookie that they got in the second round. He can come in and play some garbage minutes and elevate the team even in those circumstances. You got Andrew Nembhard, of whom my Lakers know very well because last year he won the game with the buzzer against our team and locked down our guards. I mean, it just doesn't end when you talk about the guard play of this Indiana Pacers basketball team. And so, for me, that's the problem with the Bucks. If they're not scoring, they're getting scored on for certain. You got to know, when you consider Malik Beasley, he's not defending anybody. You can't have that problem against this Pacer team with Halliburton and Nembhard, McDermott, McConnell, as I said, Shepherd, Naismith, who's a big-time player who I think can elevate his game in these playoffs. Fantastic three-point shooter. Also somebody who's going to dig in and defend, get to the line, score. I mean, the Pacers are, to me, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think it's a fluke. I think they may be a better team than the Milwaukee Bucks right now, if Giannis isn't out there to be Giannis. Now, if Giannis is able to return, one would expect that Giannis would elevate his team, rebounding the ball, scoring the ball, dunking, getting easy buckets, drawing fouls, stuff like that. You know he's Giannis. And so if he's out there, even though they lost a lot in the regular season to this team, one would have to assume that they could very much so be favored to win the basketball game that he's available in. The problem is, just like with last year in Miami series, how soon can they get him back, and will it be too late? Miami was able to take advantage of those games he wasn't out there and ran past them. Now the difference is they got much more offensive reinforcements with Dame out there as a Hall of Famer who can score a bunch. If that player would have been on the floor last year against Miami, maybe they would have been able to score enough against Miami, had enough firepower against Miami to kind of weather the storm till Giannis got back. So this year you may feel like they have a much better chance. Obviously the Pacers, we must mention, is not a very good defensive team. They do have defensive players, but together they do not play great defense at all. In fact, I think they're punting the defensive end on purpose in a lot of cases so that they could just run the score up with their offensive talent. Now, I didn't mention the center position very much with the Pacers, but it is definitely noteworthy. You're talking about Miles Turner. You're talking about Jabari Smith. You're talking about Jarris Walker, although these are fours, kind of five. It's big men, basically. That center position is going to be important for the Indy Pacers. And rebounding the ball, obviously when you're talking about Brook Lopez, not a good rebounder, but definitely somebody who's going to get tip-in boards just the same. He's going to likely hover around the three-point arc. He isn't shooting the ball as well this year as he has in previous seasons, but that could change with an elevated play in the playoffs from a guy like Brook Lopez. He's made several all-star teams, has the NBA championship with the Bucks. I expect for him to play better now than he did in the regular season. Bobby Portis is somebody you expect to help stretch the floor, mid-range jumpers, push some people around. But at the end of the day, I do think that the big man position favors the Pacers dramatically, man. And just like the fact that Brook Lopez can stretch the floor, so can Miles Turner stretch the floor for the Pacers. So it's going to be a battle of the three-point shooting bigs, which is a really, really good thing, good problem to have for either team. But those big men that the Pacers have, you just can't underestimate Jarris Walker coming off the bench, a rookie who's starting to get some minutes. I don't know if they'll phase him out or not, but I know if you have him on the floor, you're a significantly better defensive team because in Houston, he was a defensive player who could do some offensive things. Now, he's a little undersized. Like I said, I don't know that they haven't phased him all the way out of the lineup because obviously he's a rookie in the playoffs, but if for some reason his number gets called and he makes a name for himself, it won't be a surprise here. Same thing with Smith. I think if I call him Jabari, forgive me, but his name is Jalen Smith. We call him Sticks. This is somebody who's been in the NBA Finals, even though he should have been checked in the game. We talked about this for years. But when he with the Suns, he's been in that environment where, you know, they made a deep playoff run and got to the finals with the team he was on. He should be, at this point, ready to contribute to playoff basketball. Albeit probably off the bench, but I do expect that he will try to make a name for himself. And this is a player who's getting better, a growing, developing basketball player. So if for some reason he plays an elevated level of ball or shows that he's getting better, no one should be surprised. And that's what I like about the Pacers. It's the upside and the ability to gain experience this playoffs. They do have the Naismith piece. They do have Nembhard. Tyrese is a young superstar. These are guys that at any moment can show that they're getting better, elevating their game. And as they elevate their game, can do things that you otherwise didn't see them do in the regular season. They've already established themselves as one of the greatest scoring teams of their generation, maybe even of all time. The question is, can they dig in and find ways of getting stops? Because if the score is 160 to 170, some of those games they're going to win, some of those games they're not going to win. But if they can get stops, I think the sky is really the limit in the Eastern Conference that is fairly weak. I don't know how many teams in the Eastern Conference can score with them on a night-to-night basis. The problem is they will allow those teams to score with them. And that is what needs to change in these playoffs. If they continue to be a one-sided basketball team, I don't think there's a series that I really trust the Pacers in. I've seen teams like this before that only want to score their ball. They don't win championships. They do not win championships. But when you look at the roster that they have, you look at T.J. McConnell, you look at Miles Turner, you look at Andrew Nembhard, you look at Aaron Naismith, Tyrese Halliburton. These guys can play defense individually. If they were on good defensive teams, they would not be the weak link. That's what I know for a fact. These are defensive players in an offensive situation. And I think they need to dig into their defensive ability in order to win this series. Because the Bucks can score if you let them. If you allow Dame to go for 40, he will go for 40. If you allow Bobby Portis to go for 30, he will go for 30. You see what I'm saying? Now, the problem with the Bucks to me, besides the fact that Giannis is not out there, is I really am not a big fan of Doc Rivers. I've bashed him plenty on this channel over the last couple of months since getting this job. His team has been significantly worse since he joined on. He's benched all of the young players on his side of the fence, which I think will really hurt him in this series if he does that against this young basketball team. He has to play Andre Jackson. He has to dig in and play AJ Green. I know you want to shorten your bench, but without Giannis out there, you need fresh legs. You cannot be relying upon Patrick Beverly and Jay Crowder and who else is on this team? Whoever else, I think Gallinari, I think might be on this team. I don't remember who all old men that he's been relying upon since he's gotten there. Players that he would have played 12 years ago if he was still coaching another team. That philosophy will fail him miserably in this series. He must play the young guys, especially while Giannis is out, man. If he does not have a healthy dose of Marshawn Beauchamp out there, it's going to fail him, man. It's going to fail him miserably, and his team is not going to win the series. And because I think he's prone to do this, I'm extremely concerned about the Milwaukee Bucks in this first round. Extremely concerned. But it's all about, for me, how much faith I have in the Indiana Pacers defense, which is none, and how soon Giannis can come back. And while Giannis is out, can Dame steal a game or two against the Pacers? That really determines what happens in this series. If Dame cannot step into his own while Giannis is out, which to be honest with you, you do expect Dame to do that. The only time he really struggles when Giannis is on the floor. When Giannis is out, he usually goes for 40 points, 15 assists. He plays like Dame. They're going to need that from him. They're going to need that against a non-defensive, purely offensive team. He should be able to get his shot wherever he wants it. He should be able to run a bunch of pick and rolls, stuff like that. The Pacers don't want to defend. So if the Bucks can be a better defensive team than the Pacers and hold the Pacers under their average, they should be able to weather the storm and get at least a game or two while Giannis is out. If they're able to get a game or two while Giannis is out, I guarantee you, Giannis comes back 100%, the Bucks will win the series. Because at the end of the day, the regular season is not the same as the postseason, and the experience of the Bucks, in my opinion, will help them in this situation. The problem is, I don't trust Doc Rivers. I don't trust Doc Rivers. Having Doc Rivers being the coach, prone to miss all the young guys and not play them, and lean on guys like Jay Crowder, who ain't gonna do nothing for him offensively against the best offense in the game, who ain't gonna defend nobody on that Pacer team because he's over the hill and them dudes is playing great offense. You cannot trust that team like that without Giannis and with Coach Rivers controlling the roster. You can't trust him. You cannot trust him. So this is what my official prediction is going to be. I'm going to say the Pacers are going to win the series. I'm going to say the Pacers are going to win the series because I've seen this movie before last year when Giannis wasn't out there. And what the Miami Heat were able to accomplish without Giannis on the floor. And I think the Pacers have even more of an advantage this year because you don't have Drew Holiday out there mucking things up defensively, for which is absolutely necessary going up against the best offense in basketball. The Bucks don't play good enough defense, in my opinion, especially without Giannis, to slow down the best offense in basketball. And even if Dame is going off for all the biggest stuff in the world, the score should be spread out to where he's not going to get those moments to hit the final shot. They ain't going to be that close. The game ain't going to be close. I don't trust the Bucks. I don't think they have a more talented or deeper roster than this team. The Bucks' superpower is within Giannis being out there and Dame Lillard being his absolute best. Without that, you're relying upon dudes to really elevate their game in such a way that's beyond what it is that they can do at this point, especially if you're not using any of the upside young talent, for which Doc Rivers is not going to do. So that's what I'm here to tell people, man. I don't even think this is a hot take. Right now, the Pacers should be favored to win the series. They just should be. They've beaten this team all season long with Giannis on the floor. And now that Giannis ain't going to be available for the first couple games, why wouldn't you think they'd be able to beat him this way? Now, mind you, Dame does get to be himself. But can Dame do enough scoring the ball to offset a healthy, fully loaded offense in the Indiana Pacers? I don't think so. Pascal Siakam should have his way. Miles Turner should have his way. And look, Miles Turner's going to be very disruptive to Dame. Dame's going to have to get to the line. He's going to have to score over Miles Turner trying to stretch out and block shots. You know, Miles Turner's going to do a lot of disrupting, even though they're not a good defensive team. He's a very, very serious disruptor and rim protector. One of the better ones in basketball. Fully healthy. So if he elevates his game to where he needs to go, he's going to be too much for them alone. He hitting 4 and 5 threes, blocking 3 and 4 shots, getting 15, 12 boards. That's too much. It's just too much firepower coming at the Bucks. The matchups are not good for the Bucks. And without Giannis out there, Dame is going to have to steal the non-Giannis games in order to win this series, in my opinion. He's going to have to steal those, man. He's going to have to find a way somehow to play well, and I just don't think they have the personnel to do it. Malik Beasley's going to have to shoot out of this world because you know he's not defending anybody. They don't have the talent to beat this team. I'm going to be honest with you. Without Giannis out there getting 40, 15, 5, and 7, they don't have the talent to beat the Pacers. even with him doing those things in the regular season, they have the talent to beat the Pacers. So that's really what it comes down to, man. I got Pacers in 6 with an unhealthy Giannis to start the series, out for likely more than one game in this series. That's bad. That's all bad. That's all bad, man. So that's really what it comes down to. The Dame Lillard-led Bucks are going to have to play Blazer Dame ball, and I just don't know where they're going to get that type of production for the other than Dame himself. Maybe they can have Malik Beasley hit a bunch of shots. I mean, he has to elevate, and even if he does, he ain't defending. You need Bobby Portis to play all-star level ball. I mean, I can count him for 20 and 10, but is that enough going against the Pacers who can drop 160 points? No. Nah. You know, and they're not forcing any turnovers because you know Tyrese Halliburton doesn't turn the ball over. He's historically one of the best point guards at not turning the ball over ever. So he's going to have his 17 assists and 2 turnover basketball games. You're not going to beat them. You're not going to beat them. So that's what I'm here to tell people. Not to mention that they have a certain heightened level of vitriol for this team anyway. Given what happened in the regular season, they already hate the Bucks. They already have confidence against the Bucks and hate the Bucks. Nah, man. Pacers in 6, y'all. I don't see no other way this goes without Giannis being absolutely 100% start the series, and he won't be. In fact, he's expected to miss more than one game. So this is all bad, man. The Pacers were always destined to make it out of the first round, in my opinion, with this offense. They do need to get some stops out there. They can't let Dame be Hall of Fame level Dame, or it could change things. But assuming Dame has 4 out of 16 from the field type games, like he's been shooting a lot of the time, without Giannis's production, they're just not they're not a better team than the Pacers. I can argue they are even when they are not a better team even with Giannis on the floor. So this is a terrible, terrible situation for the Bucks. The only thing they got going for them is that the crowd will be behind them for the first 2 games, but I don't think that's going to matter. Not too much. Not too much. This is the problem. Too much of what it is that they need is not on the floor because of decisions that they've made as an organization. You got players there that cannot help you, that you're going to be relying upon in a series like this, to where the Pacers don't have that problem. They really don't have that problem. Everybody in their Pacer uniform should be able to contribute to winning from the top to the bottom. Their bench unit should help them. Doc Rivers is not going to play the better players on his bench because he doesn't trust them as young guys. So your AJ Green ain't going to be able to go off for 20 points. You ain't going to get nothing out of Marshawn Beauchamp. You're not going to have those fantastic elevated plays coming from Andre Jackson. The fly-in, slam, offensive rebound type plays. You're not going to have none of that because he's going to want to play the people that he trusts. And those players are old, worn down, and not very athletic. And, unfortunately, defensive-minded. And you can have a defensive-minded set of guys on the floor when you're going up against average offenses. But when you're going up against elevated, great offenses and these defenders can't defend anymore, you know what they're also not doing? They're also not scoring the ball enough to keep up with the offense that's coming at them. It's just a bad matchup. And you really need Doc Rivers to get off of the mindset of playing Patrick Beverley, Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton. You can't play these guys. You cannot. Not if you want to go up against this offense. Not if you want to keep up with this young, fast-paced team. It's not happening, bro. They'll be lucky to get to 6, depending on how hot the Pacers come out the gate. If the Pacers win the first 2 games and Giannis isn't back by game 3, this could end early. This could really end early, man. So that's what I'm telling all of you guys. Be very, very careful betting on the Bucks. I understand the Bucks have been the 2nd overall seed all season long, but they've been playing terrible basketball since they picked up Doc Rivers as their coach. And now that Giannis is hurt to start this series, there's no reason to believe they're going to play better. The Orlando Magic just dropped 113 points on them. I think they scored 88 points against the Magic to end the season. I mean, what do you expect other than for them to come against the best offense in the game and get slaughtered? There shouldn't be nothing else to expect, man. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.